Hey guys, my name is Evan. Welcome to Country View Acres. So tonight I'm out here in the workshop and I am building a firewood storage box. This is going to be something I can pick up with the tractor, take out to the firewood shed, stack it full of firewood, and then bring back in here and put it next to the wood stove, have enough firewood to be able to burn all weekend. So I'm going to be using a lot of scrap material, leftover material, to build this out of. It's going to be made out of wood and metal. So I'm basically going to build a metal cage around the outside, and that's going to give it structure. It's going to make it nice and strong. And then I'm going to fill in the sides with some boards and make it into a box. And I'm going to try to make it look like it belongs in the shop. So I'm going to stain it brown. The metal's going to be painted black. It's going to look like it belongs in here. It's going to be a permanent piece of furniture for the shop, basically. So I'm going to try to take my time and try to make it look good. Even though it's just a firewood storage box, I'm going to try to make it look as good as I can.
So I'm going to go ahead and start cutting out the frame for the firewood box. And this is some old angle iron. It was part of a shipping crate for one of my tractor implements. It's all welded together. You can tell it's fairly bent up. It's pretty rusty. But I'm going to try to salvage as much of this as I can. See if I can find some straight sections, enough pieces to be able to, completely assemble the frame for the firewood box. Now you can tell when you look at this saw, this is supposed to be a slow speed metal cutting saw. It's not supposed to throw sparks. And you can tell that it very badly needs a brand new blade. It's got several teeth missing, but it's still cutting. But it still needs a new blade sometime soon. So to clean this metal up, I ended up using a wire wheel on an angle grinder, and this is a 7 or 7.5 inch angle grinder. This thing is a beast, and the wire wheel does a good job of getting the rust off of it. It's not perfect, but it's good enough for what we're trying to do. So now that I've got all the pieces cut out and cleaned up, I'm going to go ahead and start tack welding them together. Now I'm using a MIG welder. That's really the only way that I weld, to be honest with you. And clean metal's pretty important when you're using a MIG welder. It just works so much better. Now I'm going to weld this thing out, and I don't like welding uphill, so I'm going to clamp this thing in all different directions so that I can weld it the way I want to. And I'm actually going to weld from both sides. I'm going to try to cover up all the gaps, because when I'm done, I want to sand everything down, and I don't want you to tell there was even a weld there. So I'm going to use a flap disc and sand all the welds perfectly flat. Now I found while doing this, those magnetic clamps that I use actually came in really handy just to hold the workpiece while I sanded it. But you can see after I sanded all the welds out, it looks like a nice perfect corner. It's all nice and smooth. Once you paint that, it'll look nice. So I realized before I weld this thing out completely, I actually need to drill some holes in here because I'm going to mount boards on the side. So I've come up with my drill pattern. I'm going to drill out the holes. I'm countersinking them so that I can make sure that the wood screws actually end up fitting nice and flat and flush when it's done. So now that I've got all the holes drilled in the metal exactly where I want them, I'm going to go ahead and finish welding out this frame the rest of the way. And like I said earlier, I'm going to go ahead and keep clamping this thing in 100 different positions so that I can weld everything the way I want.
All right, I've got the metal frame all welded together, and we'll do a test fit. So the metal frame fits just fine. I'm going to go ahead and get this painted black. And then we got to cut out the boards that go in here. So this here is some 12-inch tongue and groove pine siding. This is left over from the inside of our log home when we built it, and this has been sitting out in the barn. So it's a little bit dirty. A lot of it's got mud and stuff on there. We're gonna have to clean this up a little bit. We're gonna stain this brown like the walls are, and we're gonna cut this into pieces. This is gonna be the sides of our firewood box. So I went ahead and I stained the base of it as well, so everything matches. And the paint's all dry. I've actually been working on this over the last couple weeks, so the paint's been drying for over a week now. All right. So I ended up painting some wood screws black to match the frame, and this is what we're going to use to put it together. So here's all the boards that we stained. You can tell it looks a lot lighter now that it dried. We'll go ahead and start putting the sides on. So I cut the groove off of the bottom of this so it's nice and flat where it sits. We got 3 pieces here. That's that side. And this one is for the right side. And we'll go ahead and screw these to the frame, and then we'll just keep adding up till we get to the top. So I still got a little gap here at the top, so I've cut these thin boards to try to fit in here. The tricky part is getting them down in the tongue and groove. Hey, start to go. So these casters are pretty small, but you can see they stay underneath the timber. It doesn't stick out. These are 90 pounds rated each. We're going to put a total of 6 on, so that's 540 pounds this ought to hold. Look out, Sydney. Look out, Scout. Look out. Get back. You got to get up. There we go. Well, the firewood box is complete. I should be able to roll it around the workshop. And the way it's designed, it can be picked up with the tractor as well, so I can take it out there and fill it with firewood. So I think we're ready to test this thing out. We'll go ahead and get the tractor in here, take this out to the firewood shed. All right, I got the firewood box rolled into place. This is roughly where I plan on keeping it, right here next to the wood stove. So the Alstromer's tractor is sitting in the way, or else I would have been able to drive all the way in here and then set the firewood box down right here. I would have just probably had to push it back about a foot up against the wall, and it would have been the easiest way to do it. But at least I can still roll it around if I need to. So the firewood box stores roughly 1/5 of a cord of firewood. And I'm hoping that'll be like maybe 3 weekends worth of work out here in the pole barn and last a little while at least. We'll have to wait and see how long it takes me to burn through it, but I'm hoping I'll get a few weekends out of it. So I've saved some of the chips from the wood planer. This stuff actually makes really good fire starter, or kindling, or whatever you want to call it. Let's pile that in the middle here. All right, we got the fire started. Once this burns down a little bit, we'll add some bigger logs, and it'll probably take a couple hours before we really start heating this place up. So it's 29 degrees outside right now, and we've been using the Mr. Cool heat pump to heat the workshop and keep it kind of a nice even temperature. I've got it set at 62 degrees Fahrenheit, which is the lowest it'll go, but that's actually a fairly nice temperature to work in a workshop. Now the problem is on the cold days, this will have a harder time keeping up. And I've found in this large space, when it gets below 20 degrees outside, this has a hard time holding set point. It'll actually end up being 2, 3, 4 degrees lower than what the set point is, so it's just having a hard time keeping up. So that's where the wood stove is going to come in. So on those really, really cold days, I can burn the wood stove and I can heat this place up a little bit better on those colder days. So this week, the temperatures outside are going to drop. We're going to have highs in the lower 20s for like the next 7 to 10 days. So it's going to stay below freezing. So it's going to be a real good test for the wood stove to see whether it's actually going to heat this space. So this wood stove does have a blower motor here on the back. It's blowing air across the back of the wood stove trying to heat the room up. And it's been about 45 minutes and it has already come up a couple degrees. It's noticeably warmer in here. The heat pump's kicked off. It's not running anymore. So I'm sure in another couple hours, we'll probably be close to 70 in here. It's already warming up, and I'm sure it's gonna keep on warming. So the firewood box didn't end up turning out exactly the way I think I had it envisioned in my mind, but I'm pretty happy with the way it's turned out. So it's gonna match the room, go with the way the workshop's gonna look when it's all finished. So it's got the black of the toolboxes and the garage door. It's got the same color wood that's on the walls. And yeah, I think it's gonna fit in good. This is a permanent piece of furniture for the workshop. It's gonna be here for years, and it'll definitely come in handy being able to carry firewood in here back and forth. So I think that's gonna be it for today's video, guys. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Sydney, come here. Come here. Come in here. Will you get in here? Oh, good boy. Come here, Sydney. Come on in. Good. Now sit. Okay. Well, oh, I was going to give you a ride. Oh, all right. Maybe not.